Hit record. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Brian Russell, League Director here. Welcome to our Shake and Bake at the Lake Town Hall. We've got 519 student athletes registered for the weekend out in Climax, North Carolina. Intent here tonight is essentially to get your questions answered about what's coming up this weekend. I'm joined by several members of the league staff. Todd Lester, our race director, is on the line. Ben Harbor, race operations. Sean Moore, director of coach and team development. Shel Frost, our programs director, and Diane LeBlanc, volunteer coordinator. We're going to spend the first 30 minutes here walking through essentially the schedule or the plan for the weekend. We'll use the flyer to do that mainly. While we're going through that, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Any of the staff members will answer those questions if they can in the chat. And in about 30 minutes, we will just open it up to questions and answers from across the league. If we don't catch it in the chat, we'll answer it there, and certainly just put your hand up and ask your question. And we've done several of these now. They go about an hour. I think that's about right. But again, here to get your questions answered for what's coming up. Most of our weekend formats are pretty similar in the way they're structured, but each venue is usually a little bit different from a logistics perspective, or sometimes we make changes to the schedule for various reasons. And we do have a couple of those for Quaker Lake, and we want to walk through everyone to that. Much like we did last time, I would love to get questions from student athletes. If there's any student athlete on the line, the first one to ask a question tonight is going to get a pair of the highly coveted North Carolina Interscholastic Cycling League socks. We are not selling these anymore. These are limited edition now. So first student athlete to ask a question, pair of socks coming to you this weekend when we're out there in Climax, North Carolina. So let me start by sharing my screen. I'm going to pull up our website. And like I said before, all of the information you need for our events are in the flyer. And to find that flyer, I will send it out a couple times. It came out in the reminder. Tomorrow when I send the single track times, it will have a link to the flyer. Trying to do everything I can to get that in the hands of everybody. But if you don't get it and you need to find it, come to the website. Go up here to the program overview tab and then scroll down to events and race results. When you click on events and race results, this brings up the page with some season information at the top, and then the information you're looking for all of our events throughout the season. And you can see our Cranking in the Creek, unfortunately Salisbury canceled, our last one out at Dark Mountain, all the information. And then here we are at Shake and Bake at the Lake. So this first link right up here is the flyer. I'll click on that in a minute, but to give you an orientation of some other things you can find, we're about to turn over to Diane in a minute, talk volunteers, still some slots open. You can find the link to sign up right there. Ben Harbor does a real good job each week of laying out where all the team pit zone tents are going to be located inside the pit zone. You click on that link and you can find the map to where your team tents are located. We use the random team order call-up list for various reasons, less and less as we get into the season now that we have results on most of the riders, but every now and then, like this week, as a means of describing how we use that, we are now dropping a rider's lowest score from a race in order to seed those riders. So now that we have 2 races, we drop the lowest score. If we had any ties, and we had some ties and points, we went to the random team call-up order list, and whatever team was highest, that rider was seated above the tied rider. And so that's how we use that throughout the season. And then I think right now I'll have the call-up list posted by tomorrow, going through a last few minute changes, but you'll find how your athletes are going to get called up in all their various categories throughout the weekend right there. So I'm going to click on the flyer link and just give everyone a quick overview of the flyer. Here we are going out to Quaker Lake Camp, our second time out there, so we're somewhat familiar with the venue. Here's how to find it. And then really everything you're looking for is in this table of contents. And each of those sections has a bookmark to it. And by way of example, we're going to talk volunteers next. So as we go here, home teams of volunteers, click the bookmark and brings you to the home teams and volunteers tab. And great job. Home teams were almost 90% full for the weekend, a few days out. But Diane, why don't you describe maybe some of the open slots we've got or what we might need from volunteers and what they can expect for the weekend? Diane LeBlanc.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brian. Actually, you all have done an extremely wonderful job. We are at 92% for the weekend. So just real quick, a few numbers. Saturday, we have 81 of the 94 positions filled. And for Sunday, we have 123 of the 129 positions filled. So you guys have totally knocked this ball way out of the park. Good job. So there are a few spots that we need for Saturday. The spots that we're needing are the ones for we need let's see, 9, I believe, for the adventure stoke captain. So that's that new adventure area that we have this year in our race series. Those you do need to be a level 1, 2, or 3 coach to fill that position. And that's just to ensure the safety of the students as they're going through that adventure activity that we have. And then we also need 1 grip free ride leader. So if there are any female coaches on the call or the town hall, please be mindful of that. I think, Shell, correct me if I'm wrong, we can have a male coach that could fill that if we have some issues with that. For Saturday or for Sunday, which this is really impressive, a lot of the areas, the one area that we always need volunteers for is parking. People just don't like to park, but our parking is volunteers, and that whole setup is working incredibly smoothly under the new leadership of our parking coordinator, Sam. He's doing a great job. So, you know, most of the positions are really easy. They last no longer than 2 hours. We do provide lunch for our volunteer coordinators. Also, I need to say that this week, this race weekend will be the 3rd race weekend that we're doing. So we do have some volunteers who have volunteered for the 1st and 2nd race who will also be volunteering this weekend, and we will be awarding them a very sweet NICA volunteer shirt for doing 3 volunteer weekends, or 3 race weekends, sorry, as volunteers. So last thing, if you volunteer, please make sure you check in at the volunteer tent. We have had some people that haven't, and so we really don't have a way and sign up to capture your team that you belong to, who you absolutely would like to have your team get credit for. So we can't give credit if you don't come and sign in at the volunteer tent. And then sometimes there's specific instructions that we need to give to you as well. So I just want to put that out there again. Thank you so much. You all make my job this year really easy because you have been so gracious to sign up. And I think it gives you a real different feel for what we do when it comes to setting up our race weekends. It's like a pretty cool insight into the workings of what it takes to make that happen. So I look forward to seeing you all this weekend. Brian, thank you. That's all I have.
Diane, great overview. And it looks like we have a question in the chat from Bettinger, which might be our first student athlete question, I believe. And if so, Bettinger, if you could put your full name and sock size in the chat, we can get some socks to you. But Diane, can you follow up in the chat window with an answer to that question? But I'll say generally, student athletes cannot volunteer for positions that relate to safety or essentially race results. And what I mean by that is course marshaling, typically adults and coaches, and then like positions in our timing or scoring team or results are dependent from a fairness aspect, generally not, but we're looking for ways to get you all involved in the league more and more. So let's link up with Diane and see what you're looking to do, and yeah, where we might be able to fit you in over the weekend. I really appreciate the enthusiasm to do that. That's awesome, Jacob. I appreciate that. And I got your size medium. And guess what? I've got size medium socks. So we'll hook you up this weekend. Just check in at the registration table to pick up your socks. So what I'd like to do next is turn it over to Ben Harbor, race operations. What Ben likes to do is give everyone an orientation of the venue, some things to expect. And just like Diane said, literally the first people you're going to see when you roll into Quaker Lake campus, some of our volunteers, Sam and the parking volunteers. So again, thanks to them for helping make these things happen. But Ben, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you drive a little bit on the venue overview.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. I will share my screen out and give you a map of what's going on. As you arrive to Quaker Lake Camp off of Highway 62, you'll turn into the camp and there will be mile-per-hour marker signs throughout the roadway. All of our venues, we ask people to maintain a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit, no more, for the safety of everyone walking, traveling, walking bikes, riding bikes, moving around the venue. So please respect our speed limits as we get you in the venue. When you come in, there'll be some traffic cones to direct either to cabins down the main stretch or take a left to pull into the main venue area of all happenings. As you come into the left, you'll see some parking attendants directing you either to pit zone, which is this lovely pink section of boxes, or into parking here by the yellow Nike check. So we'll drive you in. These layouts are not exactly what we did last year, but just gives you an indication of the parking items on the venue. If you're loading and unloading for pit zone, this little area right here, there'll be some little concrete parking stops. You'll park right there, unload all your stuff as quickly as possible, and then drive over and park your car back with our parking attendants. There will be some food trucks there on the corner and Porta Johns as always. And then our league trailer will be over here close to this gravel section. That's all the happenings of the front end of our venue. We ask that you do respect and watch for traffic. We will have vehicles moving in and out of there, getting services and back and forth from league trailer or from safety coordinator tent. So be mindful of people moving around. It is a circle drive. We try to make all of our venues to where it's a circle in, circle out to try to prevent collisions. So be aware of that. For those that are in cabins, I do believe you've received an email that gives you instructions on how to get the key to those cabins. To remember to bring your linens, your favorite pillow, and your oh so comfortable security blanket that you may need for the weekend. If you have any questions, light me up in the chat, and I appreciate them all. Look forward to seeing y'all this weekend.
All right, thank you very much, Ben. I am going to go back to the flyer here and roll to the top. And next, let's talk about Saturday. So Ben gave you a good overview, rolling in, unloading your stuff for pit zone, getting set up for the day. Two main things usually happen on Saturday: course inspection and then programs activities like grit and adventure. So what I'd like to do now is turn over to Sean Moore to describe our course inspection for Saturday and some changes we're implementing based on some feedback from the coaches last week after Dark Mountain. So Sean, why don't you take it away?
Yes, so we are going to kind of continue the model that we set up at Dark Mountain for the course inspection. And the red flag situation is going to be all student athletes that race in a 1-lap race. So that's going to be middle school 6, 7B, 8B for boys, and middle school 6, 7B, 8B for girls. That's really realistically, the intention is for those student athletes to get a good look at the course. And what we're asking is that teams basically just wait for the team in front of them to start moving. So the realistic expectation is that you're only going to get 1 lap of course preview in the red and yellow flag situations. So wait, let the team in front of you move unless the coach from the team in front of you has a situation where they're going to be a while, they pull everybody off the course and they wave you through, by all means, adhere to that, but expect to just wait for the team in front of you to get moving again. Then after the red flag, then the yellow flag situation is going to be for all multi-lap races. And so any student athlete participating in a multi-lap race, be that 8A, 7A, middle school A, or then all of the high school categories, those are multi-lap races, and this will be the time for them to go out and get that 1 lap course inspection time. Best practice is going to be if you have on your team, say, 10 student athletes, 5 of them experienced, 5 of them inexperienced, divide them up. Both of these sections are coach led. So red flag and yellow flag, there should be a level 2 or level 3 coach leading the group, and then a level 1 coach or level 2, level 3 coach sweeping if you have greater than 6 student athletes. In that situation, you're going to divide them up so that your experienced student athletes kind of go out first. So if we can get all the teams to send out their groups that have experienced student athletes, and then after they've kind of all entered the course for their course inspection, then we can have the inexperienced groups go out, and anticipating that they would take a little bit slower, a little bit longer time to move through. Again, the expectation is that you just wait for the team in front of you to get going again if there's a stoppage, unless there's some situation where the coach pulls all of their student athletes off the trail and waves you through because they have a situation that's going to take a little bit longer. In those situations, I do want you to be mindful of letting those teams re-enter the course. I know at Dark Mountain, there were a couple of times that teams would pull off to take a good long look at something. Teams would pass them, and they could actually never kind of get back into the flow as teams kind of flowed by. So be mindful of whenever a team wants to re-enter if they have pulled off and stopped. Then we'll continue with the free ride portion, the green flag, and this is for your experienced student athletes to go out in the buddy system without being coach led. And in this time only is whenever there's that expectation that they can go out without coaches and be on their own and be looking to get multiple laps in, maybe at a faster pace. But again, they should always be mindful of stopped riders in front of them if there's an incident, or if for some reason the course setup crew is having to go out and do a reroute or complete the course setup so that they are not running into them and causing a problem. Are there any questions or concerns about that? I know it's a little bit different from what we've done.
Sean, this is Ben Harbor.
Go, Ben.
If we have high school students that may be new to a team, that are not as experienced, not as fit to be able to ride the quick, faster multi-lap, would you have any issues if we put those students in the red flag category with some of
Yes.
our
Yes, because the yellow flag is not fast. I want
Okay.
everyone to understand that both red and yellow is slow, slow, slow,
Right.
stop, 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 wait, wait, wait. So if your student athletes are not inclined to stop and wait, they do not need to be out under red and yellow conditions.
Okay.
So the expectation is that in a red and yellow, that there is lots of stopping, lots of waiting, and patiently waiting, not vociferously complaining about the group in front of you going too slow. That is not the expectation. So I've witnessed that myself. I've had people make comments to me about the group in front of them. That is not a reasonable expectation for this. So reasonable expectation, red and yellow, stopping and waiting, 1 lap in that long time period. You know, these are talking about hour and a half, 2-hour long time sections. 1 lap is really all the course preview you're going to probably be able to get. If you're lucky, you can go out for a second one. Do 1 lap students only go out on the red and not allowed to go out on the green? That's a good question. So the answer would be, provided that they are experienced and you feel comfortable with them going out, this is coach discretion, and they're going out under the buddy system, by all means, have them go out. Because in effect, on Sunday, they are racing out there, not entirely on their own, but they are having to be responsible for themselves. And so it is something that they can go do under the green conditions. And that's why we ask that all student athletes be mindful of variability in pace and not just be expecting like this is a mini race that everybody needs to get out of their way for. The number one thing I want everyone to keep in mind during course inspection is it's nice to be nice. And I've heard too many people come and tell me about too many incidents that is not what's going on. Everyone deserves the chance to go out and be respected whenever they're out there for their course inspection, no matter how slow or how fast they are. So make sure that everyone has a good experience under all three of these conditions.
All right, Sean, anything else on course inspection?
Nope.
Okay, I'll just mention here about any course modifications. You lead the coach course inspection. We've got coaches out at red flag, coaches out yellow flag. If all of those or any of those experienced eyes see something that concerns them about the trail, please notify league staff, particularly our course setter team, and we will handle that. Please don't modify the trail yourself. There's some sensitivities at Quaker Lake already because it's a private venue, but it's typically what we want to do anyway. I think at Quaker Lake last year, there were some creek crossing modifications done and actually made the situation worse. So all the coaches on the line here, if you've got any concerns about the trail, the course, let the league staff know, and we will address those. Don't do any trail modifications yourself.
And,
So
please note that is a rule in our handbook, that there are no modifications of the course. And so we do get those reports, and it's not something that we want to have it become a penalty situation. So please just do not modify the course, notify course staff, the league staff, so that they can take care of any issues.
All right, thank you, Sean. And also on Saturday, our programs, Grit and Adventure. Shell, why don't you walk us through what folks can expect this Saturday?
So our adventure area will be open from 12:30 until 5:30. We'll have a skills course. We'll have the option for student athletes to build their own skills course to challenge themselves or their friends. Lots of bike games. Coaches can pick up race plate badges at the adventure tent. I'll have all the badges that we were going to hand out at Dark Mountain as well. We will also have information on our adventure scavenger hunt that's going to take place on the 29th at Mayodan. So the deadline to register a team for that scavenger hunt is April 24th. So if you're interested in putting together a team to be a part of that, you can come to the adventure tent and get information. There's also some flyers with QR codes to register a team that you can find at the league trailer as well. We'll also have our grit area open from 1:30 until 5:30 for all the activities. Lots going on there. We pull out everything at the rest of our venues. There's inflatable couches, there's crafts, there's games. There's something to do for everybody all day over there. So definitely come and check it out. Send your female student athletes over. We're going to have a check-in for the grit pre-ride at 11:50 at the grit tent. So if your student athlete registered for that, have them come over and check in at 11:50. Then at 2:30, we're going to have a health, wellness, and nutrition chat with Sheila Dalton, who is a certified nutrition and wellness coach. 3 to 3:30, we're going to do the grit re-ride. That does not require registration, but we are only going to take student athletes who are multi-lap athletes. So if you race in a category with multiple laps, you can come join us for that. If you're a one-lap student athlete, then you would want to take advantage of the grit pre-ride. 4 o'clock will be a mechanical clinic at the grit tent. We're going to do a flat tire clinic, talk about outside assistance and how that applies to single lap races versus multiple laps. And then 4:30 to 5:30, we're going to have a board game hour. 5:30, the grit tent activities will close. This weekend, we are going to have a blacklight movie night. So if your student athlete registered in the pit zone for that, you can bring them as early as 6:45 to drop them off for that. We're going to have glow body paint, snacks, black lights, and a movie. And student athletes will need to be picked up no later than 9 o'clock for that.
Okay, thank you, Shell. If you've got any questions about any of that, please drop them in the chat, or when we get to the open Q&A, you can bring them back up then. I'll just note as we close out Saturday, last student athlete should be going on the course no later than 5:15. And coaches, if you want to help sweep the course to make sure we have everyone off, gather there in staging area around 5:15 and 5:30. We'll roll and sweep the course. And then at that point, the course is closed. And then if you're hanging around for movie night, if you're part of the group program, awesome. Let's talk about Sunday real quick. Staging, I saw a question in the chat about call-ups. Right now, I think I'll get the call-up lists on the website tomorrow morning. Again, just going through some last minute registration changes and ordering. We're taking one more look. Like I mentioned, we are now dropping a rider's lowest point race for the call-up order. So we're just making sure we've got all that correct before we post it out there on the website. But I anticipate by tomorrow, we'll have call lists up and ready for everyone to look at. I do want to talk about, Sunday schedule. We've got the staging times here. Let's roll down to the wave schedules. And if you're a middle school student in the B categories, will look very familiar to you. But I wanted to pause on this town hall and show everyone wave 2. There is a pretty significant schedule change to wave 2. What we found after 2 races now is the order these fields are presented in are pretty much the order in terms of fast to slow. And so what we're trying to do here is reduce passing opportunities with these very large fields. And so you'll note that, like normal, JV1 Field 1 will go out first, but then they will be followed by freshman boys field 1, and then freshman boys field 2, and then JV1 boys field 2 is the last in wave 2 to go out. We've made the staging time the same for all of them, anticipating there might be some miscommunication about when they need to show up. So it might be a little bit longer in staging. But as you notice with the start times, we are launching them fairly quickly. So we need to get them into the start chute fairly quickly. Again, we're trying to reduce those gaps between the fields and eliminate some passing opportunities. That's based on 2 races worth of data now. And we believe as a league staff, some of the issues we had with passing out on the dark mountain course in terms of athletes maybe not respecting each other, like Sean talked about, might be reduced by doing this. What I'd ask the coaches here, because we do the follow-up coaches meeting after one of our weekends on Tuesdays, please ask your wave 2 athletes in particular how this worked for them and give us some of that feedback. Again, we think it's a better way to do it, but let's see how this goes this weekend. Sean, do you want to mention anything else about coaching tips or rules or anything before we close out with Todd?
Really, the big thing with this one is, especially that creek crossing, there were lots of flats last year. And when I observed student athletes going through that, a lot of the student athletes that I observed were staying in the saddle and staying seated as they went down the hill into the stream and then into the rocks. And that seemed to be causing some of the flat issues that we were having. And what I'd like to really emphasize is working on that ready position, especially the tall ready position, so that as they go into the rocks and things start to bump, they can let that bike rise into them and they can absorb some of that shock, what we used to call riding light. And that's something that hopefully you're working with your student athletes on, but just remind them of whenever they're out there.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. And Todd, like you usually do, what can folks expect at the end of Sunday?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Usually it's an all hands on deck. We appreciate all the help we can get to clean up the course. We typically start the start chute immediately following the last wave takeoff. We really do appreciate it, and we do get a lot of help, but I just want to make sure everybody out there, more so for the new folks, that it is an all hands on deck. Pick up stepping stakes, clean up the tape, pick up the trash, and get everything put away into the trailer before we really get into podiums. That way everybody can has a time to attend the podiums and watch and hear and have a good time. Then we can get everybody out of there and on your way home.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd. And let me close my final comments before we go through questions and answers. We're right over the 30-minute mark. Is weather, just like we usually do. I'll host a weather meeting with some core staff tomorrow about 11 in the morning. And then by noon, we'll make the decision whether we're going or not to Quaker Lake. Right now, it looks like a go to me, but we're keeping an eye on two things. One, looks like we've got some rain through Friday night into Saturday morning. Right now, all indications from the land manager and the staff who's been Quaker Lake before, the trail will handle that rain, and putting a couple hundred riders on the trail throughout the day Saturday is going to be okay. We will certainly want to pay attention, and we will brief all the coaches accordingly at that coach meeting Saturday morning just on trail conditions. Since we are doing red flag, yellow flag, and Sean has said repeatedly, it is slow and there's a lot of stopping. I don't think we'll have a safety concern per se from some slick trails, but it's something to pay attention to. And then the last thing, there is a chance of rain Sunday afternoon. And depending on which day I look at the forecast, it is including thunderstorms or not. Thunderstorms concern me because we have to pull folks off the trail if those thunderstorms get right on top of us. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, it looks like a go. I'll send that message out to everyone by noon tomorrow. And then I would just ask everyone to be ready for some schedule changes on Sunday, given those thunderstorms and the late day rain. We will make the earliest call we possibly can. Again, the intent is to pull off this event, and we will go right up until the time when it's just not possible to continue to host the event. So with that, let's go to questions and answers. Shell, if you can just help us if there's any questions in the chat we haven't addressed already, or we'll just have folks raise their hand and we'll go through some questions.
There was a question about the lap count for freshman field on the race flyer, asking if that was a typo. I didn't see what it said when you were on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Good catch. Thank you. Even though there are probably some freshman boys in that field that would be more than happy to get after 3 laps, but check that out. Editing rights right there. Thank you, whoever caught that.
That's Ben Reed. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Jason G asked, what is the course length?
I think just over 4 miles total with the start. Right at a 4 mile lap.
And the final question is a long one there about start times. So
let me go to course, and Ben, keep me honest here, and maybe we go back to the venue map with the start shoot, little modification from last year.
I can.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I can pull it up here.
Okay.
So just to describe everyone why you're saying it might be a little bit longer than last go around. There was some feedback I recall from that start shoot not being super long and kind of coming from here and going straight into the woods.
Yep.
The team has snaked it a little bit for this year, everyone. So a little bit of length, but it's to try and not have everyone super fast going right into the single track right there. And just the other reason I wanted to talk about course, this is a very unique venue. It's private. We all are disappointed that teams cannot get out to Quaker Lake in advance of the weekend to do any type of their own pre-ride. What I will do is I will be sending the coaches the emergency action plan for Saturday via the Facebook group, and I'll put it in the team director and head coach email I send out tomorrow. Ask everyone not to share that emergency action plan around and give anyone else outside of our league an indication that it's okay to just show up and ride the Quaker Lake camp trails. So wanted to mention that here. Shell, you said there was a lengthy question in the chat. Looking for an answer.
Shell, you're on mute.
It says we're putting 10 minutes between JV1 waves, but the same final lap cutoff time. What And what if we have student athletes who are new to NICA and trying to advance out of the second wave into the first? Is their start time adjusted to align with when they cross the start line, or the same start time as JV1 with a 10-minute delay?
So the last portion of that question, those two fields, so JV1 Field 1 and JV1 Field 2, they race separately but are scored together. So essentially, yes, JV1 Field 2, when they cross the start line, that's their start time. So they are racing independently, but the times are then compared together. And that's actually a better condition for a rider in Field 2. He or she only has to fight through that number of 35 riders. Vice, if I put a field of JV1 70 plus out there, and you've got new rider at the back trying to fight all the way up that big field. And again, because we've modified these start times amongst the freshman JV1 fields, I think it's not going to require as much passing to get towards the front of the field because of that. And with the cutoff times, we've looked at the lap times, and I don't think that's going to be a concern for us on this one, given the course, but it's something we'll keep an eye on. Hope that answered the question. And Todd, thanks for answering the start line.
Yeah, Brian, I got another quick one. Somebody asked about mileage. My Strava from last year was 4.35, but I had a little bit extra there where I didn't just do the actual finish the connection. I went off a different direction. So right about 4.
And we'll have a good mileage for everyone Saturday morning. Bill and course setters will be out there Friday, and there's already talk of a potential reroute around the creek crossing, and they've modified it, Quaker Lake, the backside of the creek crossing. So we'll get everyone a good, accurate Saturday morning.
Cooper W also asked about when and where the call up list can be found or accessed.
Soon as they are live, and I'm just trying to get my browser to go back to the website, but that's the answer under the Quaker Lake event on the website. That you can find the call up list as soon as they're posted. Again, should be tomorrow morning. For some reason, there we go. So up at program overview, events and race results, scroll down to Shake and Bake at the Lake, and as soon as I post that link, that will become live, and you can find the call up list there. What other questions do we have for Shake and Bake at the Lake?
That's all we had in the chat. So if anybody wants to just chime in or raise their hand.
Thanks for getting us caught up, Shell. Appreciate that. Sean, you or I might have to break out a dad joke if we don't get any questions.
Maybe you've just gotten so good at this that you answer everything.
We're trying.
How long is the start shoot? That's a Ben Harbor Todd Lester question.
It's going to vary. We create that map that Brian Russell was showing as a general idea. Once we get on site on land on Friday and review the lay of the land, we'll adjust it. NICA guidance is a quarter-mile start uphill, but every land manager venue we go to has got a different lay of the land. We do our best to give it an uphill because there are students that are just way too fast on the start. The students will line up in a chute. We guarantee we'll have a chute snow fenced about 150 feet long. That green box right there with the hands waving is our start chute snow fence. And then the green blob down south of the screen there is where you stage at. And then the start line itself will be double or triple tape, meandering through that field back and forth until we enter the woods. We really don't have a good indication of how long that's going to be yet. Joel, did that answer your question? I didn't probably sound like it, but did it help? Awesome.
That's 2 student athlete questions for a town hall. That might be the record. So we do appreciate, we're here to make a good event for you all. So keep the questions coming.
Was Joel a student?
Yeah, I think Joel got the t-shirt from the last one.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Cool.
Todd here. Just a comment for the group. Just a reminder about your pets must be on a leash. Do not let them off leash. Keep them away from the course and the start lines. And just a friendly reminder.
Thank you.
I know we have not said it this season, but it was a problem last season. If your dog uses a restroom, pick it up. This is a private camp. They will know that we left that mess. No pun intended. They're trash cans. Pick it up, dispose of it.
Well, I think we'll leave the mic open for about 3 more minutes. I think we're approaching the culmination point. Just give a couple more minutes if anyone's got anything else.
Just saying, I think you got 3 student athlete questions because I'm pretty sure Cooper is also a student athlete.
Okay.
Woohoo.
New record. Awesome. Okay, well, I think we've hopefully answered all the questions. If not, certainly reach out to us next couple days just for awareness. A lot of us start traveling tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be out in the middle of that field on Friday, listening to Todd and Ben tell us what to do, how to set up tape, and all those type of things. So a little bit harder to contact us, but yeah, if you do have questions before you arrive, let us know. Otherwise, we will see everyone Saturday morning in Climax, North Carolina, and looking forward to seeing you all out there. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.